Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Alchemist and Oracle, where we engage in spiritualized conversations that deepen understanding and inspire transformation and spark meaningful dialogue about life's most profound truths. I am Nicole of the Oracle, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Warrioress Ardeshir RN, the Alchemist. And so today we're continuing the countdown to my birthday, which means summer.
Yay.
I'm gonna pull from here to see what we're gonna be talking about. I don't know what the topic is. Oh, so today we
Do
are
that
going to
all
be
the time.
talking about the 4 pillars of holistic health. So the 4 pillars of holistic health are body, mind, emotions, and spirits. That's what we are talking about today. So, when we think of the 4 pillars of health, of holistic health, it is this understanding the interconnected areas that support the overall well-being, the mind, body, emotions, and spirits. So, let's take them one by one. Which one do you want to talk about first? Body, mind, emotions, or spirit?
Let's go with the mind.
Okay. So, in terms of holistic health from the mind, it talks about mental health. So it's about your thoughts, your beliefs, your mindset, and mental clarity. And so the mind and thus the mental health, it also includes cognitive function, focus, learning, and your mental resilience. And some practices that help to engage your mental health and your mind are meditation, journaling, affirmations, learning new things, therapy, mindfulness. And from a holistic health standpoint, if your mental health is imbalanced, it can show up as overthinking, anxiety, negative self-talk, and mental fatigue. So in terms of the conversation today, I'll open it up to you around when you think of holistic health in terms of the mind and the mental health, like what is something that has dropped into your spirit to speak upon as the alchemist that you are?
Probably our belief systems.
That's a big one.
Yeah,
That's a big one.
something I'm continuing to even as it's a continual of a release, because depending on how long you've been in body, you've been tied to certain beliefs and these symptoms about yourself, about others. But I think the biggest thing I like to speak about is about ourselves. And using myself as an example, when we think about belief systems, and I was just talking to my friend the other day who I think I don't think I know, which she decided to allow her son to put this one video she had did some years ago now, in the late 2000s, about you can't get past what you believe, which is very true.
Mm,
And some of what we believe sits in our subconscious mind at such a level that came to me yesterday, doing what I was doing yesterday, at a level that I'm going to call in the DNA. And when it's in the DNA, it's deep. It's just like getting sick. It has to get in your DNA where your body is not communicating or not in function enough to keep it from getting there, which means it means that you're not as healthy as you want to. You can still be built in body, but if your systems aren't kind of functioning like they should, then stuff can get in. So when we look at
mm,
from a child and things of this nature and looking at our mind, we have received a lot of things. And I could say that when I look at children and going back looking at myself, there's a lot of things that did not compute with our naturalness. And I use my son as one that you can say things and you can see that it doesn't quite align with his natural frequency, considering we're both Tauruses, and understanding and looking at him, trying to look at myself at that time, but what you need and how you speak and how they look at you, because you are definitely looked at. And what I love about him is like he knows that I don't like to use what we consider to be profanity, which the words I use I don't think are that deep. But he's like, "Oh, that's all right, my God, Mama T, I heard." I said, "Yeah, baby, but I don't want you hearing that coming from me." But he understands the naturalness of, especially if I'm behind the wheel, which I normally just understand that people are gonna
Always
do
a
what
will
people gonna
involved
do. I know,
in a car.
right? So, I mean, I think there was a time in my life where I didn't deal with traffic because of the hours I worked. So, I understand that people are going to do what they do. So I try to be in woosah. And then when I'm not, there's like that. So getting back to our beliefs and what we believe about ourselves, is that we have to look at, you mentioned self-talk or self-criticism, which is part of a limiting belief, because when self-critical, there's some, now I know I don't like scars in my body, but I'm trying to be a lot kinder to myself. People kind of find scars pretty interestingly amazing that I don't necessarily find that. So, um, the self-criticism, where does that come from? A lot of it has been passed on. When I look at the women in the family and the way that they had to be, and I have to go back to my grandmother because of the era she won. My mother wasn't too far behind because she had her a lot younger. Um, and looking at what we tell ourselves, the thing that I'm definitely going to get into the depth of all of them, because there's a certain, that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and I just need to do it. It just is what it is, and getting the hook of why you need to know and what is it, and what is it really. Um,
Mm,
Dealing on the lines of perfectionism. So when we're looking at the mind, we're looking at belief systems, and we're looking at that, you can't get rid of this overnight. It is a process to really connect with your authentic and soul-filled self of who you are really, not by the stanzas of what the world has shared with you. Who are you really? The fear of failure, the fear of different things, and thinking about how we talk to ourselves and what we say, because we have what they call these repeating thoughts. And so we have to look at these and become aware of these thoughts and what we are feeding ourselves on a regular basis, because the ego is just going by what it knows. It's this protective measure, and not all that we need to have that type of a conception, because whoever your creator, higher power, who you choose that is, universe, is there for you. Our ancestors, our team, we have it. So when you start, looks like to start to become aware and awakening, you'll start seeing patterns, you'll start seeing the numbers. You need to look them up and ask, what does it spiritually mean for you today? And so,
mm,
you know, it's it's really, really deep. And I mean, Ramen Tears yesterday is like, and then, when you become and start becoming awake and become aware, you have to let your old self go, because that is not the you that can be and carry you forth. And, sitting in meditation, journaling, um, looking at how you've been taught by the world that's not true about you, or what I had to figure out wasn't true about me, and what somebody says about me. It's like, you don't know me. You don't know the essence of me. You don't know my journey. You don't know why I came here and why you think it's right or wrong to do A, B, and C just to be human, just to love who I love, just to love who you love, no matter who it is. You have cultural, no heat of judgment. You do what you want, but cultural people, and I still like to bring up the movie, um, with Eddie Murphy in way back from the 90s. This movie is hilarious with him and Arsenio Hall. Oh, Coming to America, where come on, stay with me, where
mm.
I'm talking about cultural stuff, where you're setting up to have this person married to somebody that you got to learn to get to know. I mean, no. And so he leaves the country to go
Arranged
find a woman
marriage.
that he want, arranged marriages, setting up people who you got to learn to love, and that where you have to learn that interconnection where you're not even, attracted to them, and more so, not so much physically in mind, but by mind. And so we have to, you know, undomesticate ourselves from the world, from what is naturally true about our natural energy and frequency, and that goes in the mind, and the ego will placate us, rise into our higher self, because it's been used to protecting us. It does, and set up to keep us small. So we have to become aware of this, come to do the work, understanding that we are not our beliefs, and then we have to understand what is true for you, what is true for you, what is true for me, and I'm coming to align with what is true for me. It's like going on social media. Well, they'll say that, but I can tell you that there's a lot going on with it. Depends on childhood. We weren't used to sharing everything. I've never been told that, but you can pick up a child, and they can pick up on things, just like how to use a curse word and use it in a right sentence or a right expression. That,
Mhm.
you pick up on things, and you just don't share, and then you have to be comfortable being able to share. Then there's a trust thing. So it's about, where did this come from? And you have to find out, why do you believe what you believe? Why do you think the way you think? Is it truly you? And so the mind is one of those things, that the mind body connection, because whatever's going on in your mind can affect the body.
Yeah, because the
So
mind,
it's
yeah, the mind
mhm.
sends the signal out to the body how to appropriately perform or function.
And sometimes what we think and how we do and how we roll can make us sick at the cellular level.
It always does. Our capacity, our physically expressed experience in our body is always directly linked to how we think about our body and ourselves, the value we give ourselves, how we see our value is always linked to that physical expression. And it's a matter of where it falls on the scale of quote unquote health.
Yeah, that's how you walk in the world. I
Mm.
mean, it's such a vast connection to all. And I just look at my dynamic, and if you're in stressful relationships, if you're in this, the body, you can walk around, go to work, and do nothing, but the body knows what the body knows. It's not that everybody else needs to know, but the body knows what's going on. And whatever is going on in your mind, any type of stress, any type of unraveling, or anything that's not peace, PEACE. It's like they just say, be at peace and not in pieces. And so, you have to do the work, you have to do the certain things, you have to do the reading, you have to come to yourself. And when you're sick and tired of truly being sick and tired, literally things will start to shift. People start to come into your world. People, a lot of different things. You have to choose. And then I was just talking yesterday, for example, there's another mind connection tied to food. Another whole big thing. I was talking with one of our longtime family friends. Um, and I said, you don't understand what's going on, is how things are chemically being done to put in food, to have taste, to go in there, to go to this mind connection, that you got to have it. It's just like the simple sugars and things like that. It's good to enjoy some of that, but for me, I have to be called that now. I understand what people are going through in that, but I choose not to allow it to have that type of dominance over me. That's mine. Well, I call mind over matter, thinking that things are being kindled to make a strawberry flavor without really having a really ripe, raw, in the ground, in good soil type of strawberry,
Oh, it's
which
artificial.
is a lot better.
Yeah, it's like they use chemicals to mimic the
Like over
tongue
200 in
experience
them. Yes, and go
of
to the mind.
ooh, this is what the brain remembers strawberry tasting like.
but the chemical that this is an addictiveness that has goes from this to have you keep wanting to come back to it. And
Mhm. Yeah.
and those chemicals are not really good for the body
And then
at the cellular level.
it rewires your brain thinking that that's how a strawberry is supposed to taste. So when
Right.
you eat a real strawberry, you're like,
Yeah.
ooh, that's gross.
Disappointed. Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Um, but I think that that's a great conversation to have for sure, talking about how the food system is manipulated to get people to eating things that are not real food. But
Yeah.
that's the whole, but I think that's a
Different
really good
thing.
point. Um, I
You
want to bring
know.
out this point with the mind. I think a lot of
Hmm.
people don't understand our brain and how our brain functions, part of the
Right.
function of our brain. And that is our brain is attempting to keep us safe. So it has this
Yes.
impulsivity bias by default. And
Yes. From birth.
and a lot of times, and then also too, it helps in processing information really quickly. The idea that we're like, don't be in judgment, we're constantly in judgment. That's just how we're designed.
Mm.
I think we need to let go of like, don't be in judgment. We're always in judgment. If you think you're not in judgment, you're lying to yourself, okay? Because that is how we process. Judgment is processing information, and from that processing, we assign a something
Meaning.
or another, yes, a meaning to it. And so with that, and I think I've kind of it's part of my service or like my gifting is I'm always working. I've kind of shifted my practice in working with people in their brain, and so I understand that the brain is seeking safety. And then if we have experiences that we have had in our childhood or through adulthood on top of the childhood experiences, it can it can make us question safety. It can make us seek safety. It can make us seek comfort. And that's why a lot of times we eat things to comfort and soothe us to
I
make
call
us
it comfort
to
food.
soothe our psyche into thinking that we're safe
Yes. True.
through what it is that we're experiencing.
I
One
did
of the
it yesterday.
beautiful things about the brain is that the brain has what they call neuroplasticity. It has the capacity to be rewired. Just like
Yes.
the example you gave with people, this artificial strawberry flavoring, you eat that, it's rewiring your brain to say, this is
Yes.
what strawberry should taste like. So when you eat the
Yes.
real strawberry, it's like, that's not real strawberry. I don't want that. I want the other thing. But with that same ability, your brain's capacity to rewire the artificial, you can rewire it to go back to like, no, this strawberry that's grown and real, like a real strawberry is what
It's
strawberry
best.
flavoring tastes like. And I can enjoy that much more um
It'll
enjoyably. So
serve you. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so that's like one of the four pillars of holistic health is the mind. And I think the most logical direction to go is the emotion. So the emotional health, because they're very much tied together.
Mm.
And so this pillar, it supports how you feel, how you process, and how you express your emotions. And so this includes like when they talk about emotional intelligence, self-regulation, your capacity for self-regulation. I'm going to say capacity, your capacity for boundaries, your capacity for inner safety. That's your emotional health. Some of the practices to tap into are shadow work, therapy, whatever therapy that looks like, where it's taught cognitive therapy. Um, they even have like energetic therapy. There's so many different therapies. crying, because crying is a release. It's an energetic connection to the emotion. It releases. Laughter, feeling your feelings fully. Those are really good practices that honor the emotional health that we have as humans. The imbalance, how it looks, is emotional shutdown, mood swings, avoidance, and codependency. So that's what we mean by holistic emotional health. As you see it, and you have alluded to it, how do you see the linking of the mind, which is the mental health, with the emotions, which is the emotional health on a holistic level?
Repeat, sweetheart.
What do you see the connection, the linking between the mind and the emotions? Because you alluded to that earlier on. What is that connection for you? How do you see it? How
Um,
you experienced it?
um, I know, well, for me, I like to know how I feel, want to know how I feel. So when you're looking at these different things, then I was just looking at cognitive behavior therapy, especially around behaviors such as people pleasing,
Mm,
um,
mm.
which is in depth. It's this core thing that you have to watch out for, and it has a lot to do with how you feel about you or your lack, or some of it has to do with abandonment, some other type of issues and things of that nature that we're seeking, and maybe even extreme loss also. So the emotion is how you feel, how you look at, how you process certain things that are going around you, that are natural things that go on in the world, like loss. I have to bring that up because I've experienced a lot of it since
Your entire
for a
life.
while, especially as a child. And
Mhm.
then since I've been back here, it there's a part of me that said, well, I got used to loss, so that doesn't really matter, but it does. So, things of that nature. So, okay, there's something going on in my ear. Anyway,
We could tell. Um,
anyway, I apologize. Give me a moment till whatever this is going on in my ear stops.
what is it? Is it like
So,
the angels singing to you? Is your ancestor coming forward to share a message with the masses?
yeah, this
She's
is
very much trying to figure out what the hell it is. Um,
this happened before. This is just insane. Okay, here we go. I know exactly what I got to do, but I can't do it right now. With that being said, as we look at these different emotions, and you asked me about the loss, what it felt like, I think it was an ego thing, protection. I was just that person that just held space. And so I didn't know that's what I was doing until, I found out, 5 years ago, doing the work that we've done together, being spiritual warriors. But I know that one of our warriors has said to me that it's not your fault. And I'm like, I came back home and boom, 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 beginning with my mother, somebody I called a mother, used to do my hair back in the day. That was 2 months after. People at this young age that I grew up with, hope to connect with or whatever, were passing. So I would have to say that, as well as I believe I handled it, it did not feel, it was actually sad, I guess. And, I don't really like being sad. So, I mean,
yeah, you really don't. That's
no,
that's an
that's just a
emotion.
no.
But I think we all have an emotion that is hard for us to embrace sitting in. If we're like being 100% transparent, we all have an emotion, and it goes back to childhood trauma. It's not good or bad. It
Yeah.
just is, right?
Yeah, I mean, because the one, when you look at feeling emotion, is that my great grandmother, 10, Billy said he was there, but I don't remember. He must have been behind me or something when she collapsed with her second stroke, and we don't have half of what we have today. and they took forever to meet, feeling like they got there with this little station wagon back in the day, and how I thought that I would go in the medical field. But I'm really a type that is really proactive in my being. So when that was did, I didn't sleep in my room for a year. I did go up and dress in my room, but I slept in the living room for about a year after my great grandmother crossed. And so and having that feel I could still sleep. It was just, her, because she was upstairs with us. She was helping my mother out. So she came from my grandmother's house, her daughter, and hung out with us. And so I cried a lot, and then I wasn't addressed. And it was like, shut up, you're gonna make everybody else cry. And I think I might have mentioned this before, but this is on a different level of what gave me solace, which was a song by Chuck Berry. So with my friends, my brother, other his best dude across the street, and my last girl growing up, my goddaughter's mother. And then Dougie, who also crossed, we just had our little clan, and and things of that nature. So that was a hard thing to deal with. And then looking at, that it was kind of sad, didn't understand, knew some other people in that family had went, probably sisters, but not the tie that I had, with this particular relative. And so when you look at, the emotions, the sad, the glad, so that song brought laughter to me, and funny just because the lyrics are crazy as all get up, and just period, just lyrics. Oh my God. So, and you look at that, and look at the tie to the brain, and how that, if it's not dealt with or healed, that is still is becomes a part of you and lingers in the mind, and most likely the subconscious mind. And so there's things that have to be healed that weren't addressed. And even though we can put it on the back burner, it's still very much with us. um so those are, that attachment, it took years and years. And I remember talking about this at the other town where I stayed, because I spent a lot of years there, traveling back and forth. Was it came up and we talked about this, and I said, don't remember when I let my grandmother's scent go away, and it came up, and it wasn't something that I was trying. I just did, until one day it went away, and somebody said that's when you released her. And I was like, it was an unconscious thing, it just happened. And so I was like, well, that's interesting. So I sit there, thought about it. I said, oh, that makes sense. And so it's very interesting. So you look at that, the emotional ties to those things, and just looking at, kind of what's going on, and it's just like, wow. So I mean, I was pretty neutral in retrospect to it, but if I wanted to be or remain clear and upfront with myself, sometimes because you have been so much of what's the word, of burying emotions or certain things, that you're just one that are able to just be present. And maybe it's because of my soul journey that I was just able to be able to do that. I went to many, some of them I hadn't seen in years, and one of the guys who passed, we were just together in 017. Right after Mother's passed, one of our guys was DJing. We all went to support him after we were at one of the school reunions out at the park, and we all went there and still have those pictures. And it was just kind of interesting. It was just something. So the emotional ties to all that brain, everything is connected. And so,
Mhm.
like you said, we need to honor the emotions. We need to honor the cry. A big one I had yesterday, and sometimes it says that you don't need to know why. And sometimes we do know why, but it's more from a soul level than an ego conscious level of what's, being triggered to come up to release.
Yeah.
So emotions sadness and anger, and then some things that I've been doing lately, I didn't realize I had any anger. So the last couple of times that I've been out, I have been angered by the way that we are navigating this world, and it's not in a kind or respectful or sharing way. And so it's to understand that I don't have any control over that. And then another, anger residing about how I allowed myself to have these belief systems be such a long part of my life. We can do many things, like I was talking about, worthiness. You can be a millionaire, billionaire, still be successful, and still yet have these beliefs that still don't serve us, keep us from contacting people, from just being at in a place, in a state, in a connection with those that our energy and frequency desired for us to be in, and not in any other frequency. So we have to, just like our spiritual teacher said, we have to get still. Matter of fact, that came up yesterday. And so I'm getting all the messages about what that means and trying to do that. The ego does not want to be still because it doesn't want to be silenced. So, there's a lot of emotion around that, and understanding that you're in control, you make the decision, for the greater good of your health. I'm not going to continue to eat stuff that make me feel awful just so I can take a pill to alleviate it. That's just not that's just not, something that I'm choosing emotionally to do because I don't want to feel a certain type of way. I don't want to feel um um depressed. I don't want to feel certain ways, about how I exist in the world. And some of us have to be aware of how we're doing, and what emotions and what are we causing and bringing forth for us. And why do we feel sad? Why do we feel joy? Why do we feel certain other emotions at that time, and have to sit with that and take the time? So yes, will I get angry? But do I need to woosah? One, two, three, breathe, shake it off, and keep moving. I find out why that was. So you look at, all those emotions in such a way, because they all, as we spoke about earlier, they all have their purpose. I still don't like to be sad. So, but I understand that I am going to be sad. But I won't sit in it. I just won't. But can journal about it, which is something that is a part of a process of understanding and getting to know yourself better. What angered you and why? I was younger, and but I was very much this thinker. So my father, unfortunately, used to just take me to a point, even from a younger, I used to just be able to take off and go to my grandmother's house because I needed to process. And so I was the type of person that would go get a certain spirit, and I would go sit and I would think. And that was the type of being, was to look at what angered me, why did it anger me, and what was it that I had to sit with because I didn't want to be angry, so I had to go process it. And I used to do that. And when we get older, we stop doing the stuff that we do when we were younger. That's crazy, right? So, you have to process those. So the mind emotional connection is just that. How do you want to feel? How do you want to feel versus how you feel, and how you can change that energetically by shifting your mindset and finding some of the tools to help do that. So the mind is a powerful, powerful thing. And when they say that we do not use only a capacity of it, just think if we were able to use 100% of our brain power.
My mind goes to, where does that come from? Like, I'm curious to know, like, why is that said and what do they mean by that? Because
Mm-hmm.
I feel that it really has to do with us being aware of our emotions, because our emotions dictate our brains, like, it sends a signal to the brain. One of the things, I'll say this, one of the things that I always come back to is that every individual on earth is seeking safety.
Mm-hmm.
It all
Mm-hmm.
goes back to how safe you feel in this world. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's one of the hardest things is to reconcile that we live in a world that has people who choose to focus on, they're aware of this innate seeking that we as humans have in the pursuit of feeling safe here. And because of that, they're like, I want to go in and I want to like make your life, like, you just have people that have made it their life mission to maintain a lack of safety and stability in this world for
Mm-hmm.
whatever
Mm-hmm.
reason. I have
Mm-hmm.
chosen to not get caught up in figuring out the why, because that's not a really good use of my time specifically. There's other people, that's their purpose, that's not mine.
Mm-hmm.
But with that understanding, I think it's important to be honest about the world that we live in. We live in a world with people that are not, they don't care about other people.
Right,
But we
right.
also
Yes.
live in a world where you have people that do. And it's, I've gotten to the point in my life where I realize that you have these two things going on. And that's, I don't want to say that's the war per se,
Mm-hmm.
but I choose to focus on finding those people and aligning with those people, embodying being one of those people that creates those safe spaces.
Yeah.
Because my purpose is not to go out and to like change other people's minds and feeling like you need to stop doing what you're doing, versus how can I cultivate that space of safety. And for me, it has been, how can I find that sense of safety within myself so that I can support people and provide like tangible, actionable steps and how they can figure that out for themselves.
Yes.
And
Yes. That.
I think when you start to realize the truth and the realness of the world that we live in, it, and I think that's probably part of like you not liking to feel the sadness, but it comes because of the world that we live in, because you're just this hopeful soul that wants to be this expression of love and compassion and understanding. And you're constantly, I'm going to say constantly, but you have these moments of the remembrance of the what's going on in the world that you kind of are
Mm-hmm.
put right in, is dropped into your awareness, and you're just like, man, that's sad. Why is this a
Mm-hmm.
thing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm. Yes, right.
it's like you recognize this is a thing. Don't get caught up in trying to understand why this is a thing. My mind goes, unless that's your call to action, because I do think you have some people that's their call to action to go in and
Mm-hmm.
like break up whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
The call to action is, how can I find the joy in spite of that going on?
That's right.
Because I think
Exactly.
so many
Finding
times we get so caught up in like the world is chaotic, the world has gone to
finding peace
hell,
in the
it's burning down.
chaos.
And the idea that this has not been something that has been going on since the dawn of the world changing, where you have this duality that exists, is false. I was having a conversation with my mom, and she kind of reminded me of like what was going on when she was in her 20s and she was in her 30s and her 40s. And she's just like, it reminds, like, she's like, this is not different. What's different is our access to the news cycle. She said the news cycle, the conversation, the programming around, like, well, literally it's the programming, right? The
Hmm.
programming that's on TV.
Hmm.
But that narrative, like, you have access to that so much more. And she was saying that a lot of times you didn't know things were going on until like the newspaper came out, but you were like
That's
caught up in
right.
your own world and your own life, and just living your life. And I feel like we have, it's easier for us to distract ourselves, and we're in this new age. It may not feel like we're in this new age with technology, and technology is learning, especially with AI, it's learning how to manipulate that sense of safety, how to destabilize the people's capacity or sensing around safety
Hmm.
emotionally. And it hits us on that emotional level because it understands that from our emotional experiences, it wires our brain, and that's how we seek out the confirmation of what we're feeling. But on the
Mm.
flip side of that, how do you find the empowerment in it? Like you were saying, you find the peace in the chaos. They can exist at the same time because we live in a world that's very duality expressed.
Hmm.
You can be sad. Like there's been moments where I've been so sad, and then I've had this thought, like, I remember when my grandmother passed. I was so sad, and I was just
Mm.
really sad that she wasn't here. And then I would have these memories of like her saying these things, and I would go into this laughter, and I'm like so sad,
Music
like,
is
oh my
mine.
God, it's not gonna happen again. But then it's like, but it happened. And so it's like, I think we have to remind ourselves that our emotions don't define who we are,
Yes. 111.
and our emotions also provide an opportunity to see how we are defining ourselves. And from that understanding and that awareness, we can approach the rewiring of our brain through those practices of meditation, through journaling. It's just honoring yourself, just honoring.
Yeah.
I feel sad about like the wars that go on, but I'm also happy that I have beautiful friendships and a caring community that is thriving.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it really is about finding the peace in the chaos. And what you were saying is like stay in the peace and not allowing yourself to go to pieces. Because the chaos will eat you up, and it will eat you up until you're in
Yeah.
pieces.
That's not deserving of us. And you have to understand that it's not, and that you can change it. It's just like choosing, brain, mind, choosing. Choosing is the mind. You get to choose to change. You get to choose to change. And then you have to understand what is greatest and have your feeling good, that nobody has anything to do with that. And
That
if they can, that's the biggest part. And if they don't understand that, then they are not to be in your in your space or energetic field until you get to know what that is. So
that's a really
it's
good point. A lot of people struggle with feeling like they have to bring the people along, or feel like it's their responsibility to get people to understand like where they're coming from or be on their
that was me. I
side.
don't do that anymore. So I do know that very well. Not
Hmm.
doing that anymore. That's a no.
What
Can't do
changed?
it.
Like what, like how did you recognize that and then become empowered to like rewire your thoughts around that?
I'm continuing to do so. 1313. I'm continuing to do so. Because I understand that it was okay. I understand from the spiritual and the messages that I keep getting that it's okay, and that I just have to allow people to be where they are and just become the the light that they may need to see. And it's not because I want to be, it's because of how I came here, and understanding that that's okay. Understanding that I am to be that let me see, that picture uh of that.
Inspiration?
Yeah. And it's not something that I chose, it's just something that is. And the acceptance of that. So I had to come to the realization not only that how I was being treated, how my energy was walking in the world was with certain energies and beliefs that are not mine, that I have people I don't need to force anything to be. Um, that I've
Mm,
never been alone, even though I felt like I was, because of who I am and how I came to be in this world, what my soul desired that to be. And I got confirmation on that last night, which is already known. It's just hard to walk in that because um oh, that just slipped. Is that that person who came here on a different frequency that not everybody can understand. And not everybody's going to understand you or your walk, or that. All you can do is be that you are, and rise into the higher frequency and vibration that your soul came here to walk on, so people can see that they can have the peace, that they can have the joy, that they can have what it is if you pull yourself away from what the world says. The
mm,
world says you need to do this. The world says you need to be married. You need to date this. No, if that ain't for you in the moment, you don't need to do crap. You don't have to date nobody for your entire life. You
yeah.
may be in relation, but you don't have to do anything. You don't have to marry anybody. You don't have to do things by people standing, because we get in certain situations that cause us even more dynamic stress and more unraveling and chaos and hurt and pain that could be avoided. Pain, I mean, you're going to have your own pain just trying to exist in this world. So you don't need any extra to bring
Yeah.
to the thing. People need to do their work. We need to heal our patterns. We need to become to the true essence of what it is, and it takes time to do that. The younger you are, the better it is. Trust me.
Mm.
And I don't use that word loosely. Trust that.
Wait, what do you
So
mean? No, 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 no. What do you
what's that?
mean? The younger you are, the better it is. What do you mean by that statement?
Because if you're noticing some of the beliefs, it's just like me. So I'm catching these programs. So the programs are definitely something of bringing the download to even come here and talk right now, because obviously that's what it's coming to. So when you look at, I was just looking at this one show, this child is 16. She's 16. So yeah, looking for love or trying to be like these other group of girls that she got in trouble with. They were taking stuff, and all of a sudden, them two didn't even get looked at or checked. But the old little black girl did. So you're following this pattern, you're following this, and you're looking at how to be loved. You're getting these self-beliefs. So the one girl sends the picture on the text, is this sexy, to the boyfriend that's now her boyfriend, who's actually a very respectful dude. Okay. So she didn't get nothing. Then she's in a group chat with her other friends and the this and that and all this, looking for your own value when it's already there within you, and you thinking you have to be this way because everybody else is doing it. And see, I can say that because I was like, I just know, because I wasn't ready to go there, and I wasn't just going to try to just sacrifice myself if I wasn't feeling you that way. And I'm a very intellectual person, so now that matters. And it comes to find out that this particular Boyfriend is that same intellectual type. And then there's another one. The show that I wanted to mention before was called All American. And one of the guys in that is a very intellectual young man, teenager, before he would even want to get involved with them. And you have girls coming up all on you. I'm like, to each their own, but I don't like that loose. Not too much. That's just something that is a belief about who you are, and that you need somebody else to love you or like you for you to even be the valuable, worthy person that you are. So when I say younger, is that you need to cut these things, the domestic things at the brim, so it doesn't be with you for decades, which takes a little longer to get out of the core subconscious DNA belief that I know to release and to let go of. So you don't want to be buying, because if it's not you, your gut will tell you. I can't tell my gut, your gut will tell you what feels right for you. And when you force it, and then sometimes when we in relationships or we've had, sexual intercourse, this and that, we feel like crap after. So what the hell was that all about? You went against the grain of your naturalness, for the sake of trying to do what you think you were supposed to do because society says so, or your peers says so, or this, that, and the other, and that's what's being expressed in these things. So the younger that you catch or try to get what's unnatural to you, that even that you've been taught by your parents, because this stuff just continues to get passed on. But like when children, and when I mentioned my other young one, is that you can tell what they're good. You experiment, you find, certain things, and you look at your child, well, okay, that's not him. We can't want, because I wasn't a baseball star, that they be a baseball star, not unless that's something that they like. Now, unless that's something that you see in them at a younger age, and then you explore and find out. Sports was my thing, this and that. I just didn't get to do it professionally because it wasn't brought to me. I didn't know, it wasn't passed on. So I think that I love the fact that I was up in the WNBA, for example, real heavy in the initial years, real heavy. So excited, and was hoping to get a year in. But I let a lot of stuff, there was unfortunate things that got in the way, and there's no doubt that I couldn't have done it because I had the physical and mental prowess to do so. But then you have other things getting in the way, other people getting in the way, and this and that in your mind. And that's what I'm saying. The younger that you catch a hold and become aware of the nature of your trueness, then you don't have to wait decades and time to help release it, because it's a hella process. It's a hell of a process to come back to you
I
after
think
decades of emotions and beliefs and limiting beliefs and things of that nature. Because there's a lot of them under that, and I'll be talking about it. I'm just gonna have to.
so. You're talking about what you're speaking about, I think blends really beautiful into the pillar of spiritual health, spirit. And so this pillar, it relates to your sense of purpose, connection, meaning, and inner guidance. And so this includes your relationship with self, source, soul, nature, or higher power, and some practices to kind of tap into your spiritual health: prayer, ritual, stillness. Talk a lot about that. Creative expression, soul work, time in nature, and how this looks from an out of balance standpoint. It may show up as lack of direction, a sense of
Yeah.
disconnect, apathy, or an existential confusion. So I think what you're talking about in with the show, I think I feel like when we are our adolescent self, there is a bit of this existential crisis, this existential confusion, because we get to this pivotal transitional point where our parents and the world around us has poured into us in such a way that usually by the time we become like adolescents or in high school, we have a more sense, we have more freedom, we have more of the capacity or leeway to explore the world. And so we start to realize the world that we thought is not quite what it was like when we were children. So we're starting to kind
Hmm.
of have a bit of like a confusion around of like, wait a minute, my parents told me so and so was really
Hmm.
bad and da da da. And it's like, but as my teenage self or my young adult self, I may not be experiencing in that way. I may be like, my parents lied to me. This is not, I don't experience it in that way. And
Mm.
so I feel like the spiritual health part of it, we don't like our society does not cultivate this pillar. I don't think our society even acknowledges it. I think our society is just now acknowledging mental
Yes, now.
health and
Yes.
emotional health,
Yes.
but not even on the level of providing support or really being honest of the connection of the holistic connection of how all of these feed into each other. So the spiritual part, the spiritual self, I really do feel like if you are in that traditional loop, it it is desensitized. Like school, they don't want you to
Hmm.
be your soul expression because your soul expression is gonna you're gonna have a room full of kids that have like 20 kids. They all have different soul expressions.
Hmm.
But the teacher does not have the capacity to like tap into all these 20 kids soul expressions in the traditional educational system. So what do? They numb the kids. No, 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 no. Or they put
Hmm.
them on ADHD medication.
Oh my
You
God,
know,
no.
so it's we have these practices in place on a cultural level that disconnects or dishonors, doesn't want to acknowledge the spiritual health, the spiritual side, the spiritualness that we are. And so I think that's why we start to have so many challenges when we kind of transition out of childhood into like adolescence, into young adulthood, and into adulthood. And adulthood is the time period where you reparent yourself. It's like, okay, now
Yes.
you are looking at all the things that were the belief systems and things of that nature, the societal expectations and requirements, that checklist they give you, like these are the things you need to do to be considered a person of goodness and of value in this world.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so that's where the spiritual health part I feel is highly dysfunctional if you were 100% tapped into doing what society expects of you
Yeah. I mean,
because it doesn't
I
honor you.
remember.
I want to mention the last pillar because we have to wrap it up. This time went by really, really
Okay,
fast. And this last pillar, I feel
that's
like
fine.
is going to be a whole nother episode when we come back from break. And it's the physical health, the body. So
Mm.
rundowning really quickly,
Mm.
this pillar
Mm.
is your physical vessel. It's how it feels, function, and is cared for. So the feels attached to your emotion, function is your brain, and cared for is your spiritual. So that is the linking into the physical body and how your body is always constantly expressing from that holistic connection. And it includes movement, sleep, nutrition, hydration, rest, and physical boundaries, practices that help you to connect on a physical health, a body level, exercise, nourishing food, quality rest, massage, body work, hydration, and imbalances that show up: fatigue, illness, it's a big one, tension, burnout, and ignoring your body's signals. Your body is always in constant communication with you.
Patient with you. Yep.
So that's the last pillar. We don't have time to kind of break it down. I'll give you like you can have a few minutes to kind of wrap up the physical connection and whatever you want to say before we say goodbye.
Well, when you look at it, it's actually a whole. I mean, all of it, body, mind, soul, spirit is connected to the body and how it can perform for you. I'm huge into that. I need to get back. Kind of got off kilter, but I realized that I don't have the 24 hours that people think we have because it's more like 12 hours a day. So when I look at other countries, I look at other people, how they work half a day, they get together, they have good food, they may even have a good wine. And wine is it can be a cleansing. It can have a really good cleansing effect on our body, long as it's not abused and overused. And exercise, everything you said players that with your exercise, your body feel good. It's a mind connection to the mind. When I'm in great shape and feel that I'm feeling good, you can feel like you can't do anything. That's why I told people, I said, I may not be my body, but my body, when I could tell my body to do whatever I wanted to do, felt good for me. Felt good for me. Jump high, jump over this, climb a fence, do whatever, even at this stage. Hop a car, jump. I mean, it doesn't matter age. If your body is in the shape and that for you, it can do, it is connected to you on all levels of the mind, body, and spirit, whatever you tell it. So feeding it good in that has a lot of connection to your emotion. If you're eating food that is not, there is something that you will notice going on in your body and your brain, and it's not a good feeling. It's
Mhm.
just not. The way you think, you have other thoughts that are not true about you, how you feel, I'm tired, this and that. People say after they eat, they go to sleep. That is not energetic food to me. I don't want to sleep after I eat like that. Or having food or heavy food that doesn't bring you to a high vibrational energy should give you more energy. That's why you're supposed to eat by a certain time, this, that, and the other, and have it do what it's to do to help you move, survive, think, be, and then release what it does not need. And so it's all tied together. And so that's why the body was huge for me, how I look in it, how I feel in it, what I put on it. And I'm switching that up and realize that it's okay to eat the way I eat just because everybody's eating a certain kind of way, but I know how I want to walk away feeling in the body. The body is a vessel, is a a a a a holy vessel that gives you all the things that you need. We're going to go back to the fact about the pleasure principle. Why do people say having pleasure, sex? People can even talk about certain things that's supposed to be so pleasurable, but it's not. That we don't even explore the natures of our body, the sensuality of our body, the things even for our own self. So I was looking at the story again, and so somebody, the one girl, because the other girl said, "Oh, masturbation, ugh," it's like, it's about the safest thing you can do. I mean, it just
Mm.
is. But you
Yeah,
know,
it really is.
to look at the body in such a look at it as a good way, like you can't have it both ways. It's either that or it isn't. It's either good or bad, which is not neither. And so it gives us the ability to create, to think, and to do, and to use our hands to do whatever, to use our mouths to speak. But we have to feed it what it was designed to be fed, which is raw, natural food. You can cheat on the cake. That's why I said if I want to do something, I like it made from scratch because it doesn't have a whole bunch of other ingredients in it to do it. Ice cream used to be simple,
Real
but it
food.
used
We
to
have
be
to
a
go back
few.
to real food, eating real
Yes,
food.
yeah. We do. I understand people say they'll do what they want. Then, I don't like prematurely suffering when I have control over that. And suffering, when the body is not well, that's suffering. You don't have to be in a car accident, injured, fall off a ladder, and break yourself to truly be suffering in your body. You
Yeah.
know,
You see it
you
all the
just
time.
don't.
People are suffering by the choices they make in the food.
Yeah.
Um, but I also am aware of how the integration of the physical health, the food you choose, how you choose to nourish yourself is your
Mm.
capacity to feel how you feel about the body that you're in.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
the whole point of this topic why I chose it is to remind people of how all of these four areas are
Yeah,
integrated on such a level that you can't separate one from the
the
other.
other. Yeah.
And there's always your body, your emotions, your brain, your physical, your spirit is always in communication with you in terms of how you are feeling into this world and your capacity to be that human and being, remembering the human and the being and finding the integration piece. That's why I chose this topic, because I think sometimes people focus so much on the physical, but their
Mm-hmm.
mental is really like, woo,
Yes.
needs to be touched into. And
Yes.
just the reminder, the importance of finding alignment and what balance looks like for you and letting
Yeah,
go of the
that.
perfection of it. Because perfection does not exist, because we're human beings having a human experience. We live in a world that is not perfect,
Right.
clearly, because of the duality that exists here, the
Mm-hmm.
power that people have to choose how they align, how they want to be in this world. We have to live with allowing people to be how they choose to be. But
Yes.
we can only, back to your point, we choose how we are going to be with ourselves. And I think that's the most important thing. So
Yes.
we're going to leave it there. We're going to come back to the physical health, because I know you love talking about that. And I know there's a lot of points that you wanted to bring forth. Thank you all so much for listening. Thanks for being in conversation with me, Warrioress Ardeshir RN. Call to action. Comment down below, which pillar can you be honest about that you may be neglecting? What's the pillar
Yes.
that you can lean into and tap into? Comment down below which pillar that is. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification so you can receive notifications of all videos that come out. And for those of you that may not know this, we actually post every Thursday a new video at 12 noon weekly.
Yay.
So we hope to see you in a future video.
This
Thanks
is
for
awesome.
watching.
Yes. The bad.
Bye.